Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you for joining on this Friday evening Bhagavad Gita study series. So this is sort of the first class after the significant event of the year, Krishna Janmashtami, last Thursday. So because of which many of us I saw coming, especially some of them danced, some of them performed in dramas for the pleasure of Krishna. So which are all very nice activities in devotional service. Partika, kudos. Your dance was really nice. For the Krishna's pleasure. I see some claps. So yeah, so maybe let's take a pause, right? Maybe a minute or so discussion about your Janmashtami experience. Did you feel anything different? Did you able to focus more? So what were your unique experience about this Krishna Janmashtami? If you can share their experience. Any takeaways? Akila, Brajari Prabhu, Vaishnavi.
Krishna, maybe I can share first. I think last year was my first ever in-person Janmashtami. And then compared to that, this year, like, I just felt so much love and connection with the community. Maybe because I got to know all of you and all the Matajis and Prabhus a bit more across the past year. I just felt more of home, more of like understanding where my place is, and maybe slowly even realizing what actually Bhakti Yoga is. Yeah, so that is my takeaway from it. Whereas last year I was a lot more like analytical and yeah, more of like the theory of Bhagavad Gita rather than the actual practice of it.
Thank you. That was really nice, Vaishnavi. Especially I can connect to you with the analytical aspect. So as the rational beings, we are so into analyzing stuff, breaking down into, dissecting into its to the logical form of real understanding, right? So whereas Bhakti Yoga is much above that. So one of the scriptures called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, given to us by Rupa Goswami, one of the primary acharyas in the Bhakti line, he defines what pure Bhakti Yoga is. He says, Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavratam Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. He says the pure Bhakti Yoga is above the platform of knowledge, above the platform of karma, above the platform of dhyana, with unmotivated, uninterrupted, unto the pleasure of the Lord. So Bhakti is all about action. Bhakti is not just about the theory, the understanding. Bhakti is all about getting into the action with the full intent of serving the Lord and his devotees without expecting the result of being appreciated, etc., so on and so forth. So Bhakti is fully action. That's why if you see many preachers in the Bhakti Yoga, they always travel a lot, travel to places. They are not like, unlike a typical yogi whom we typically think of sitting in a Himalaya meditating. That's also definitely yoga, dhyana yoga recommended to us by Krishna. But a Bhakti yogi kept himself so busy, working so hard for the pleasure of the Lord and also for the benefit of the mass audience. So thanks, Vaishnavi, for sharing. Any other takeaways? Would you like to share your experience on Janmashtami? Anyone else?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
It was a very nice experience to like perform. I mean, last time I watched, which was better, but performing was also very nice. It was a very nice experience to practice with devotees and spend time with them. There's so much to learn from them. I was very nervous, so maybe I like, the thing I realized was that if I do it without thinking, like without just thinking for like I'm doing it for Krishna, then I would like When I went on stage, I was very nervous. But when I turned around and saw the DTs, then I felt better. Then I I started performing. But then, yeah, there was like phases where I'm, that I'm getting nervous, but then I'm also like, but when I see the DTs, I'm still feeling that time I forget what I'm like. I'm very focused. So I think I just need to, get that mindset that I'm doing it for them. Then it gets very seamless. But otherwise, if I start thinking about other things, then yeah, I kind of mess it up.
I think you brought on a very, very important point about what is the intent of we are doing something, right? Typically, so we are so familiar with dance performances. Okay, I am part of this dance group. We're performing some dance. And in this case, that's not the mindset. It's a dance performance for the Lord, for the pleasure of devotees on the day of Krishna Janmashtami. So if we put I in the center, the I-focused cannot be applicable for the devotional service Bhakti Yoga. It can always be you-centered. You means referring to Krishna or referring to his devotees. So when you put the deities as in the form of Krishna in the center, you become more confident, you become seamless. You say that's a very nice word. So that's how Bhakti Yoga, any form of yoga needs to be performed. It's never I-centered model, but it's always you-centered model. So that's why that's a very nice point. Thanks for sharing both Vaishnavi and Vartika. So last week we sort of kickstarted with this chapter 16. Prior to that week, Vaishnavi really took us through a toll of thinking through the divine and demoniac nature. So we will continue with where she left off. So this chapter, for everyone's alignment, those who have not attended that week, this chapter is entitled as DAIVＡSURA-SAMPAD-VIBHÄGA-YOGA. So if we break down, right, Daiva means Daivam, divine. Asura means, as we all know, is demoniac. So Sambhada is the quality, the behavior, the attitude. Vibhaga, what is the difference? So this chapter is all about the qualitative difference, dissection between the divine and the demoniac. That's why this chapter is called the divine and demoniac nature. So with that very high level alignment, we will just jump into the chapter straight away. So we have seen this a couple of times before, so I'll skip this. We will start with the prayers, right? So to seek the blessings of the God and the Acharyas, we seek their prayers so that we understand this in the right spirit. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatadine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim YatkripatamahamVande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. So with that, so before getting into chapter 16, right, on a very, very high level, Bhagavad Gita, we are in 16th chapter. So Bhagavad Gita has total of 18 chapters. So it was Adi Shankaracharya. Many of us on the call know Adi Shankaracharya. So he is the one who actually categorized Bhagavad Gita into these 18 chapters. Before him, it was just 700 slokas. But after him, we started to follow these 18 chapters in his categorism, right? So the first 6 chapters predominantly talks about karma yoga. Karma means action. How in our day-to-day life we can perform yoga, which is basically how we can unite with the God through our actions day-to-day. So that is the karma yoga section, where the chapter begins with the overall Bhagavad Gita begins with Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, bewildered by seeing the opposite army being his own family members, his own cousins, grandfathers, teacher, etc. Right? So Arjuna, bewildered, he puts his bow down, stating to Krishna that he cannot fight. and Krishna being the charioteer. Partha is referring to Arjuna, and Sarathi is the charioteer. So Krishna also has this name as Partha Sarathi. So Arjuna turned to Krishna asking for help. What am I supposed to do? It's a very tough situation for me. And Krishna says, you're thinking from this bodily soul, as if bodily platform, as if you're going to kill, doesn't mean you're going to kill the soul. The soul is eternal. The soul is present in the heart of a body. Just this body die, and this body is subject to die. No living being in a particular conditioned body is eternal. Maybe the duration of life for that particular could vary. Humans live 100 years, insects live for a few days, etc. But every living entity in a body is subject to death. So Krishna is introducing that very important concept of soul, and then from acting from that soul platform, he has to do the swadharma. Soul in a particular body has some particular duties, right? So, for example, if I'm a student, I have the duty of studying. If I'm a father, I have a duty of taking care of my children. If I'm a grandfather, so on and so forth. Everybody have duties. Krishna introduced the concept of duties, and then he brought the concept of knowledge, spiritual fundamental principle knowledge. And then he talks about Dhyana Yoga in the 6th chapter, where he recommends a lot of do's and don'ts, etc., yama, niyama, etc., right? So do's and don'ts in 6th chapter. And then the 7th to 12th chapter predominantly talks about Bhakti Yoga. So Bhagavad Gita on a very high level, it talks about 5 aspects, right? Ishvara, which is God, Ishvara, which is God, Jiva, which is soul, which is us, all of us. Ishvara, Jiva, Karma, which is actions, Kala, which is time, and Prakriti, which is the material nature, the material nature that we are currently in. So these are the 5. Any shlokas, if you take in Bhagavad Gita, you can connect it to either one of these aspects or several of these aspects. So the middle 6 chapters talks about Bhakti Yoga. It gives the knowledge of who God is, how we can attain the God, how we can attain the nature of the God. He walked us to the 8th chapter, right? The very famous verse, Antakale chamam eva smaran muktva kalevaram. So this is the important takeaway for us. Antakale chamam eva means at the time of death, if one thinks of God and his whatever aspects of God, so he attains that nature. Krishna emphatically declares in chapter 8, text 6 and 7. And then he opens about the opulences of the God. So why God is called Bhagavan? So Bhagavan, Parashara Muni. Some of us know about this person called Vyasadev, Veda Vyasa. So with whom the Guru Purnima is being celebrated largely across the world, but specifically in India. Guru, so Vyasadev is referred as Guru because he compiled all those Vedas, Upanishads, all those scriptural matters into written format. Before him, it was all oral receptions, Shruti. But after Vyasadev, it came all into written format. So the father of the Guru of Vyasadev is Parashara Muni. So Parashara Muni gives the definition of Bhagavan, right? I think it is the father of Vyasadev, not Guru. I apologize. It's the father of Vyasadev who gives who Bhagavan is. Bhagavan is someone who is full in all 6 opulences. What are these opulences? Strength, fame, knowledge, wealth, beauty, and renunciation. So these are the 6 aspects of Bhagavan, and one who is full, infinite in all these opulences can only be called as Bhagavan. And that's why we call Krishna as the supreme Swayam Bhagavan. So he talks about that in 10th chapter. 11th chapter, we all know Vishwarupa Yoga, right? So Arjuna is so curious to see that form of material form in which he sustains the overall universe. So he shows that Vishwarupam, the universal form. And then it talks, then the last 6 chapters which we are currently in, which is chapter 13 to 18, talks about the Jnana Yoga, knowledge, yoga of knowledge, and the knowledge about this world. And then so right now we are in chapter 16. Chapter 16 is, as we know, divine and demoniac nature. So Vaishnavi gave the summary about last week that this chapter can largely be segmented into 3 sections. So the first section is the divine and demoniac nature, qualities. So the first 3 shlokas, Krishna gives about 26 qualities. If you see here, so these are the 26 divine qualities that Krishna gives us, that we need to know, practice, and then imbibe, and then we become. So this is the process, right? We first know, and then we practice, and then we imbibe, and then we become that. So it's not like, so as soon as I read fearless, I become fearless. So it is a process of becoming that, right? So that is the first section, which is the divine, and he brought about 6 specific demoniac qualities. We will see that also shortly. So this is the 26 divine and 6 demoniac qualities. And the second section talks about what is the attitude of these demoniac people, and because of such attitude they conduct or they behave in such a way, what is the outcome of them. So it's all about demoniac peoples, demoniac qualitative people, action, behavior, and consequence. So that is the middle section. And last section, out of all the demoniac tendencies, just 3 gates to hell. Krishna says there are 3 gates, gateway to hell. So he specifically brought out these 3 because it's very important for us to be mindful of these in our life. And then he also finally recommends, through shastras, through scriptures, we can able to utilize this life in the much perfect way and attain the perfection, Krishna says. So that's how this chapter is encapsulated. So maybe I can pause here and check with you, what is your pet animal? Do you like dogs? Anyone? I spoke for a while, I want to hear others. Anyone like dogs? Anyone doesn't like dogs? Monkey, says Vaishnavi, that is very unusual. Okay. Anyways, in the path of evolution, we were monkeys, ancestors were monkeys in the past, so I can relate to that. So dogs is why I brought up dogs is my pet animal. Cat I definitely don't like because it's a bit cunning. But if you look at any animal, right, or any animal or any human, right, they can't be, okay, Bajari Prabhu says I like cat. Prabhu, it's not like, no means to offend you, but it's just I don't like cats. So if you take any animal or any human being, they have multiple personalities inside, right? For example, dogs are commonly referred as man's best friends. A lot of times we get to see that old people who are not accompanied by their own children are accompanied by pets, and mostly it's dogs because dogs are so loving. But these same dogs behave extremely opposite way in certain times. I used to have my own pet dog during my school days, and for no reason, sometimes he behaves so like inimical. He sort of bites, etc., etc. At the same dog, and sometimes he becomes so friendly, licking, etc. So there are 2 natures in the same person, right? So it's a very important point for us to notice. So we all know about the 4 yugas, right? First, Satya Yuga. Satya Yuga, this divine and demoniac are 2 different personalities from 2 different planets. So if you take the Satya Yuga's example of Dasavataras, right? We can think of Varaha, the boar incarnation, or any other incarnation. The Devas are in the higher planetary systems, the Asuras are in the lower planetary systems. They are so separated from the geographies. And then in the next yuga, which is the Treta Yuga, where Lord Rama was there, the Devas and the Asuras were in the same planetary systems. The Rama was in the Ayodhya and the forest, and the Ravana was in the Sri Lanka. But they are all in the same planetary systems called Earth, Bhumandala. And then in the Dwapara Yuga, where Krishna was there, this Deva and Asura were in the same family. So in the family of Kuru, Pandavas were mostly divine, and Kauravas were mostly demoniac. The 100 Kauravas headed by Duryodhana, right? And his father, Dhritarashtra and Pandu. Dhritarashtra being the elder brother, and Pandu being the younger brother, these two personalities are so different. So the divine and demoniac came into the same family. But here comes the interesting part. In the Kali Yuga, where we are currently living, right, these two natures are in the same person. Like all of us, we will have a divine side and we will have a demoniac side. And we can't lie ourselves that I'm fully 100% divine. There's no demoniac quality in me. We can't lie that, because for the fact that we are in this material world, we have those tendencies in us. It's just that the gradation of how much we have to how less we have. That's all. But we all have such tendencies. The reason why I brought that is, so we just need to know, right, how these divine and demoniac are inside us in today's time. So these are the 26 divine qualities, the very first 3 shlokas of this chapter. Maybe I can just pause for just 10 seconds. People who didn't attend last time, just quickly go through what are they. All right. Yeah, and then so this section talks about the demoniac 5 verses, right? Especially pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These 6 are the qualities of demoniac demons, says Krishna in 16:4 of Bhagavad Gita. So typically in an industrial setting or any setting, they do SWOT analysis, right? What is my strength? What is my weakness? It's good to acknowledge the strength, which is the divine qualities inside us, but it's super important to acknowledge the demoniac qualities inside us so that we can work on them. We can work to reduce them. Time to time, people get pride. It's not every time. They are not full-time pride persons, but time to time it comes. At that time, this knowledge has to be in us. So the time we have to become conscious. Oh, I'm being pride now. So I need to sort of acknowledge that first, and then with the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, okay, this is a demoniac tendency. I need to be mindful of. I don't act in the platform of pride. So what typically a pride person in pride does, he boasts, right? He shares his stuff with others. He behaves in a certain way. He maybe people in the lower stuff. For example, in a corporate structure, a person who's a boss can command his subordinates. So those actions coming out of these demoniac qualities, we have to curb. We have to immediately cut. For that, we need to have the knowledge and then acknowledge, okay, this tendency is coming, and then consciously avoid the actions out of it. So in this process, we will curb, we will wash away these demoniac qualities in us. So these are some of the practical applications we can derive. And then Krishna, 5, he says, the divine qualities takes us to liberation, moksha, and the demoniac qualities will degrade us further. And then we will continue. A person who follows the demoniac qualities, water nurtures that, will continue to be in the cycle of samsara, the birth, death, old age, and disease. Basically, take a rebirth again in a lower forms, because we all know the reincarnation is true. The reincarnation, in the next life, what body he gets or depend on two things, which is karma and kama. Karma is the actions that we perform in this life, and karma is the desire we have. If we have desire to elevate ourselves spiritually, then that is the favorable conduct in this life. If we wanted to enjoy more by exploiting things, we become degraded and we take lower forms of life. So even if a cockroach in your house is alive, means there is a soul inside that cockroach. And who desires to become a cockroach, right? I always ask this question: who desires to become a cockroach? Who desires to become an ant? Uh, so that's because of the bad conduct that soul has performed in the previous lives, and because of the outcome, it takes up such a lower form of life. So without further ado, maybe we can just go on. So these are all Vaishnavi took us through last week. I think she finished here. Those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. So these people are cunning. So being smart and cunning are two different things. Everybody has to be smart. But for example, if you just look at this image where the gambling, the very famous gambling match between Pandavas and Kauravas happened, and Shaguni, who's the one rolling the dice, was so cunning to a superlative degree. He knows how to sort of pull the divine people like Pandavas into a gambling match, and because it's his die, he knows exactly how to roll to get things done. And then because of his cunningness, Pandavas lose, and because Pandavas lost, the bid was after the bid was, if Pandava lose, they have to give their wealth to Kauravas, and they went to a level that they even bid. They lost their wife Draupadi, and because of which we some of us know that pastime of Dushashana, who's a younger brother of Duryodhana, disrobed Draupadi, like literally in the palace in front of all the generals. This demoniac person Dushashana was disrobing Draupadi, and Draupadi was initially asking help with his husbands, but husbands, because uh, them being Kshatriya, the codes and the rules are so important to them. Because they lost, they can't do anything. And then Krishna supplied infinite saris to protect his devotee Draupadi. So this pastime came to my mind when I read this, right? So demoniac people doesn't know what to do, what is the right conduct, what is not the right conduct, etc., etc. There is no truth found in them. Maybe invite someone to read this set of shloka and verse. Someone? Shweta Mataji, do you want to read?
Yes, sure. Idam adya maya labdham imam prapyase manoratham idam astidam api me bhavishyati punardhanam asau maya hata satrur anisye chaparan api ishwaroham aham bhogi siddho iham balavan sukhi adyo vijanamam asmeko न्योसिति सर दश्रोमया यक्षे दस्यामि मोदिष्य इति जनना vimohita. The demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future, more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance.
Thank you, Mataji. Really appreciate that. Do you find any specific word that repeats the most in this translation?
I am. Everything is I am.
Correct. Thank you. It's very, very I-centered model, right? That's what I mentioned in the first. When it comes to yoga, it has to be you-centered. And the you, it's all about God, and the bhaktas, the devotees, or any person, anybody, we have to be compassionate. So whenever it comes to yoga, it's always you-centered. And such a demoniac person as in this these shlokas 13, 14, 15, it is all about I. See, I am perfect, I am powerful, I am happy, I am the richest, so on and so on and so on. We cannot bear such association, right? So here, two examples are given in this slide. One is Duryodhana. This hard, I mean, these two personalities are great. They are so powerful, etc., etc. But whatever they get is because of the good pious activities that they've done in the past. They didn't realize, but they didn't use it for the right purpose. What Ravana did, he in a different form, as a sadhu, triggered Sita to come out of that circle that Lakshmana shield her. In a very duplicitous way, he kidnapped others' wife. What did Duryodhana do? He had so much of wealth, yet he didn't want even a single piece of land for the Pandavas, because he had these six demoniac qualities that Krishna just brought to us. Pride. Duryodhana was so pride. He was so arrogant that he don't even want a single piece of land for Pandavas. He was so conceit in nature, anger. Bhima and Duryodhana have two deadly combinations, right? Bhima, whenever he does something and etc., Duryodhana becomes so angry, and then he's so harsh that even he poisons Bhima and try to kill Bhima in different ways. And all this is because he is in ignorance. He is not acting from the spirit platform. This person and I are equal. We are we are spirit. We are not this body. I'm not Duryodhana. He's Bhima. That is just this life's story. So ignorance is the root cause of suffering. Every religion conveys this message in some form or other. Ignorance is the root cause of suffering. Buddhism predominantly believes this. And that's why they are always aiming for enlightenment. With that knowledge, they become nirvana, they believe. So this is all about I-centered model. We just need to be careful about these tendencies. So we will subject to these, any one of this, right? So we will be feeling some of this, but at those times we have to be cautious, mindful, and not act from that platform, but act from the sattva platform, the goodness platform, divine platform. Okay, next set of verses. Who wants to read it? Anyone who's interested?
I can read again.
No. Maybe others can read, Mataji. I can call you later. Thanks for the enthusiasm. I really like it. Keela, do you want to read?
Sure, Prabhu. त्वानहं द्विषतः क्रूरान् संसारेषु नारदामान् क्षिपामि अजस्रम् असुभान् आसुरीष्वि एव योनिषु आसुरीं योनिम् आपन्ना मूढा जन्मनि माम् अप्राप्यैव कौन्तेय ततो यान्ति अधमां गतिम् Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Attaining repeated birth amongst the species of demoniac life, O son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually, they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. Thank you, Hare.
Thank you, Akila. Do you have any takeaways on this? Any sharing? Do you connect to any of these points, and do you have any experience to share?
Of course. I mean, there is in my system itself, there is some, I don't know what mischievous is in that definition is quite unclear for me. If you can explain what that is. And envy, of course, I think it is there, but it is more like every time when there is coming, always it, because it is not a nice feeling anyways, so it is more like we practice to overcome that.
Okay, it's a very safe way to tackle a question. But that's fine. Mischievous, in my opinion, right? Mischievous is someone who is not rationally right with his conduct, means they're acting whimsical. So they're not thinking what they're doing, but they just do what they like, who are influenced by the material nature. Prabhu, correct. Bajari Prabhu, is that right understanding? A person who is influenced by the modes suddenly kills a person. It's like whimsical act. Is this mischievous? Mischievous is, of course, being naughty, but that is a very gross level. This is what I understand from this context.
What is the Sanskrit word for it?
It's a very good point, Prabhu. I have the Gita with me. Let me quickly.
1619.
Mischievous is kruran, or kruram. This word, third.
Oh, is it that cruel? Is it because
Yes.
akrura?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's cruel.
Thank you, Prabhu. See, I was speculating something, and you were directing it to the Shastra and showing the exact meaning. That is divine. That is divine nature for sure.
Prabhu, sorry, in Vedabase, if you click, you can see it's used in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There, Prabhupada translated it as always willing to do harm.
Oh, always willing to do harm.
I think it's cruel. It's similar.
Okay, so we are running out of time. Yes. Always willing to do harm. See, this is by willing. Somebody is so willing to do harm for others. So definitely these are very high level tendencies of demoniac persons. We are not part of that category. But just the Krishna is saying, just Bhagavad Gita addresses all aspects of life, including this. So going back to my slide, those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest. Envious is someone who's envious of others and also envious of the position of the Lord. A person who wants to become God, like Hiranyakashipu, he wants to be the powerful person, even above Vishnu. So he is envious of the God himself, and he is willing to cause harm, even his own child Prahlad, because this person is so divine that he couldn't take, because they are all from the demon family. He was willing to do harm to kill the Prahlad. So God says those are all the lowest of men. I perpetually cast them into the ocean of the material repeated birth among the lower form of life. Attaining repeated birth among those species of life, such persons can never approach me, says Krishna, because they become deluded, and the lower form of life, the chances of us coming back to the spiritual form of is getting lesser and lesser. So they sink down to that life of existence. etc. Krishna says. So this is the 3 gateway to hell, the interesting conclusions of these chapters. Can we have Vaishnavi read this?
Krishna, try. त्रिविधं नरकस्येदं द्वरं नाशनम् आत्मनः कामः क्रोधस्तथा लोभस्तस्मात् एतत् त्रयं त्यजेत्. There are 3 gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul.
Thank you, and that is super clear, right? And this image is so relevant that these tendencies pull us down in different forms. Lust is not just about the lust for the opposite sex to be enjoyed and enjoying, but it's the fundamental desire to enjoy is lust. Enjoy any food, enjoy anything. The fundamental aspect of desire to enjoy is lust on a very broad sense, and greed is wanting for more. So lust is the first step, right? We want something, that is lust, and if this lust is fulfilled, we want more, which is greed. We want more. If this lust is not fulfilled, we become angry. This is anger. This is like lust is the primary, and if we experience this enjoyment, we want to enjoy more, which is greed, and if it's not experienced, it becomes anger. So the fundamental root cause is lust. So these 3 we have to be very mindful of. So these 3 takes such a person who is having these, they will go to hell, Krishna says very clearly. So 24 shlokas we have in total. So this is 23rd. Vartika, can you help read this?
यः शास्त्रविधिम् उत्सर्ग्य वर्तते कामकार्तः न सा सिद्धिम् अवाप्नोति न सुखम न param gatim. He who discards spiritual injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination.
Thank you, Vartika. So it is so clear, right? Coming back to the high-level perspective, high-level outlook of this chapter, divine, demoniac, and we saw how such demoniac people behave and what is the consequence. They go to hell. So how can we tackle this is through scriptures, through the spiritual conduct of life, and the evidence of those practices is shastras. So he who disregards the spiritual injunctions, which is basically one who disregards that, act in his own way, acts by the influence of the modes of material nature, which is goodness, passion, ignorance, and then such a person neither attains perfection, which is the spiritual perfection, nor attains happiness in this world, because Krishna in chapter 8, text 16, he says this material world is dukhalayam ashashvatam. Dukkha alayam. Dukkha means misery, alaya means place, and ashashvata means temporary. Everybody in this world has a time limit, start and end, which is temporary. And this is always, we may feel happiness, but in a very few minutes we will be the things change. It's like a sine curve in this world. It has ups and downs always. So whereas the spiritual perfection is only bliss, shanti, peace, bliss. There is no happiness, even happiness, unhappiness. Happiness is a very material conception. Anything that has antonyms to it, it is, even though it's a good, it is still material. Whereas peace, if you take peace or bliss, do you find any antonyms? No, because those are very spiritual, emotional concept. So such a person cannot attain the supreme destination. So the last shloka is just the reverse of this. What happens those who abide or follow this scriptural injunction? Shweta Mataji, you would like to read again? Do you want to read this?
Yes. Tasmat cha, sorry. Tasmat cha strem paramam ajantam te karya vyavastitau jnanatva shastra vidhano katam karma kartum iharhasi. One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated.
Thank you, Mataji. Just for everyone's benefit, right? So these shlokas are not ordinary words put together. These are actual words coming out from the Supreme Lord Krishna. So these are fully spiritual words. So we definitely recommend reading them again and again so that we get the right sound vibration, because these are sound vibrations, not just words with a meaning, but these are spiritual vibrations also. So we aim to read correctly. So maybe I'll read once more. Tasmat shastram pramanam te karya akarya vyavastitau Jnatva shastra vidhanoktam karma kartum iharhasi. One should therefore understand what is duty, what is not duty by the regulations of scriptures. Through scriptures, we should know what needs to be done, what is do's and don'ts in this world. So that is super important. What is do's and don'ts, and what is our duty, which means we need to do that in this world, and what is not duty, we shouldn't do this. Okay, my another meeting starts, but that's fine. I can join later. So knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. So it's like playing a game, right? If you take any game, there is always rules to that game. And if you know the rules and rules so well, you play the game so perfectly, and with time you become an expert in the game, and you just nail the game whenever you come onto the field. So life is very similar to that. If you get to know the rules and regulations through the scriptures, and through hearing from the right authority, which is Guru, and devotees and people who practice this for a long time in a parampara system, they all become authoritative. So through hearing from them, through reading the Shastras, we know the rules of this world. And then we play the game of life in a very perfect way, and then we sort of become an expert. And that's what all pure devotees, all sannyasis and sadhus, they are becoming expert of this life. And at the end of that life, they attain the spiritual perfection. So all tying to the scriptural injunction, and such way they become elevated, says Krishna in the conclusion of this chapter. Maybe it took a long time to convey all these points, but any questions or comments or sharing from today's discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
So, sorry if you're getting late.
No, not at all.
Can ask late.
Please go ahead.
So, I mean, when we're mentioning about these 6 qualities, demoniac qualities, and one of those was ignorance, right? So actually, ignorance is the only thing which actually makes us fall into all these qualities. Is that right?
Correct.
So why that is actually not like the only, but it comes as a part of the 6?
If Krishna the many times prior to this, Krishna says ignorance is the root cause. Ignorance comes a lot of times in Bhagavad Gita, right? And these are specific demoniac qualities that we can relate to. If he brings out 26 divine qualities and just ignorance is one demoniac qualities, not all people can relate to what he means by ignorance. But with ignorance, what is the outcome? What is the channels ignorant come out is through pride, which I can so relate to. Arrogance, I'm so arrogant at times. So ignorance definitely is the root cause that not understanding that I'm the soul acting from the soul platform. Instead, I'm acting from the body I-centric platform. These are the outcomes of those that I can relate to. So that's my sort of understanding on this. Just ignorance when he say, definitely I cannot understand, I guess. Any other thoughts on this? You can also share others.
No, my question is more like, so where you stated, because I mean, within ignorance all these fall. So why is ignorance the sixth quality I'm asking? Like one of the qualities I'm asking.
So I look at this way, right? So with ignorance being the root, these are the channels it comes out. But sum total, right? These are all the demoniac qualities. Being ignorant is a demoniac quality, right? That somebody needs to work on to overcome. So these are some of my thoughts. Bajari Prabhu, others, do you want to add on to what Akila asked?
No, Prabhu, I think
Maybe Akila Mataji can get some clarity on, come back to you why it's a part of the six, but why it's not separate. But I'm very sure that ignorance has been brought out because prior to this also. But why it's part of the six, I'll come back to you later. Any other questions or comments? Shweta Mataji, do you want to add anything? What do you want to take back from today's discussion?
I think it's a very clear distinction in divine and demoniac qualities, and something that we can always keep reminding ourselves. It's very easy to have these qualities of being arrogant, being angry, having pride, and if you have this knowledge is in the back of your head, you can always make an effort to correct yourself. It's not easy, but we have to keep trying.
Exactly. Thanks. That's a very nice takeaway. I want to take away that as well. I want to copy and paste it my takeaways. Any other final takeaway before we sort of move to the next section, Kirtan?
I'm actually suddenly thinking, well, for the question, so how Krishna came as, Krishna, the Supreme Personality, and Krishna came as an avatar, like in that Krishna, Dasavataram, somewhere suddenly I'm feeling that is how that ignorance and this ignorance is coming.
That is high level. Yeah, I don't have any points to share or anything on that. All right. Akhil, I'll come back to you on that question. Why is ignorance is sixth and not highlighted separately as the root cause? I'm getting late for another meeting, so I request you guys to stay on the line. Akila will lead the Kirtan for the next very few minutes. And then, see you all next week. So before that, one announcement. This month end, right, there is a body, mind, spirit workshop that I posted in the group. So it's going to be very eventful, very, very experientially rich workshop we plan. Body, so we plan for the Hatha Yoga where your asanas, your body will be engaged in the asanas, yoga and stuff. Mind, we will do some meditation, mantra meditation, kirtans, etc. And spirit, we will have His Holiness Romapada Swami, a 50-year experienced Bhakti yogi coming to us, coming to our home, giving this knowledge is so unique experience. So I really invite you all to join that this month, and I will share again the details in the group. So with that, I hand over to Akila. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Does someone else want to lead the Kirtan? Okay. Harirnam, Harirnam, Harirnameva Kevalam, Kalau Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatiranyata. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Brajahari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you, Prabhu. Shweta Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you, Mataji. Vartika Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you, Mataji. Is that Aditi Mataji?
Yeah, hi. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Vaishnavi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you, Mataji. Harirnam, Harirnameva Kevalam, Kalau Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatiranyata. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Over to you, Braj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you. Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.